Hey, and welcome to Right Hand Drive Guys, episode 24, the first interview in our Live from IA series.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so when I was at IA, we decided, in order for it to make it worth it for me to go down there, we needed to get interviews. And so the first one that we did was with the man, the myth, the legend, Nashville,
Yeah,
Richie Capillion.
that's right.
Yeah.
He's the homie.
Yeah, and I actually thought it was Kupelin, and Andrew thought and Aaron thought it was Capillion, and so I actually asked Richie.
Yeah.
It's Capillion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
You know?
you were right. That's pretty cool. So yeah, I sat down with Richie. He was, I've known Richie for solid 10, 13, I don't know, a bunch of years.
Yeah.
When I first came back to Nashville after the Army, and I had the Civic Type R with the yellow wheels, the yellow TE37s. So I quickly met the PGK dudes because they were like the guys that were heavy into Hondas.
Right.
Yeah, and so Richie, obviously, Honda guy, if you've never met him.
Big
you know
Honda
that.
guy.
Yeah, and so his nickname was Nashville when I met him, and he was like very, very popular on Instagram and stuff at that time. And he actually had the Nashville Instagram.
Right.
That was wild.
Yeah, from the rip, he had
Yes.
the username Nashville.
Nashville on Instagram.
It's
So
kinda
he
funny.
was. So if you think about it, anybody tagging at Nashville when they're down there on
Right.
whatever street, they're actually tagging Richie. Yeah. So and so he was known as Nashville, and I think eventually maybe he outgrew that.
Right.
But I still know him as Nashville.
Yeah.
And so he had. And I know you remember this car, but that red EG hatch.
Oh, yeah. How yeah.
Everybody knew that
Yeah.
car. I think
Yeah,
he
it
was
was-
in what magazine?
It was in S3. Yeah, James Evans shot it.
Yeah. So, and that was when that happened, he was in S3, I remember it was X amount of months after me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, holy moly. That's pretty wild
Right.
because S3 is actually from down there.
Right. They're from
Georgia?
Atlanta,
Yeah.
I believe.
So,
And that red hatch, the thing that stood out the most about it, and the thing that I don't know, a lot of people were either attracted to it or hated it, right? They either loved it or hated it because of the wheels.
yeah.
Because it had the work lead sleds on
the
it.
lead
dude.
sleds. Yeah.
And
It set off the car, though.
Right,
that, made the car.
yeah, and I wouldn't have known what those wheels were if it weren't for that car. And I'm sure
Yeah,
that's the
me
same
neither.
for a lot of other
I'd
people.
never seen those.
I'm like, what are these off of Volkswagen or something?
This-
What are these hubcaps? What's going on here?
No, so and Richie is a really cool cool guy. I don't know
Yeah.
how to explain it. He's very calm, cool, very well spoken, type of guy. So we kind of hit it off quick, and for a while after I moved away from Nashville, whenever I come into town, I kick it with Richie and
Yeah.
whatever he was doing. But I haven't been in a long time, so it was really good to see him.
Yeah, for sure.
And he got a new car. I know you knew about that.
Yeah, his Civic Type R.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so he goes into detail in the interview about that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, a few months back, he actually hit me up and then was like, yo, I'm looking for a Civic Type R. And it was as he was selling his last Civic,
Yeah,
The
it was
silver
a hatch.
hatch, yeah. He was in the process of selling that to Chase Bays or whatever. And I told him to go through Stacked, and that's actually who he ended up, contacting and getting the whole thing, which we've covered Stacked plenty of times
Yeah.
on this podcast. So yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah,
To
for
see
sure.
another homie go out there and do his thing.
Yeah, that's really always the best when you can, assist a homie and just making their dreams come true or their next goal.
Yeah, for sure. And I've known Richie for a while, and I'm not even sure when I really initially met him, but I do remember whenever I first saw him posting on 10-speed, the name Nashville, he
Mhm.
always came across I don't know, one of those elitist type dudes where kind of rubs you the wrong way sometimes if you're just reading it, but
yeah, if you don't know him.
right. But then I met him and chopped it up with him, and he's a cool, just chill dude, like
Yeah,
you said,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he's one of those dudes that dude, you can talk about anything with him.
Yeah,
and like,
literally.
dude, he'll have you laughing and just doing the goofiest shit. And like, I don't know, he's a really fun dude and like really chill. And like, I think that's what's so cool about him. And he never comes out.
Yeah,
He's
no,
like
he is.
He's like kind of
he's a treat. And so, yeah, same here, right? Like, because when the time that you're talking about on the forums, it was a lot of fake wheels, and these guys that had real wheels
they were kind
like,
of like elitist dudes.
well, because they were proud of, like,
right.
you know, they spent that money, they sourced those wheels, and then you have these dudes coming in with these fake wheels, pretending like they're real wheels.
Or just fake parts in general.
Or fake whatever, right? And so, you know, it's like, yeah, they're just like sticking up for their decisions, you know?
Yeah,
so.
I'm not knocking,
But
I'm not knocking real parts.
Yeah,
I love them as much as anyone. Like, I would rather put real parts in my car. But, like, back in the day when that whole thing started and, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like it was a wave come through and there was just, like...
Everybody was being like that.
Yeah. But, like, you meet him and it's like, oh, okay, that's really not what this dude's all about. Like, this dude's actually pretty cool and, like...
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's the same way I felt. Yeah, just cool dude you can kick it with, chat anything.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one time we went over to his house and we just watched the Isle of Man race thing for like hours, just talking about shit, And I don't even really like motorcycle racing or watching it, and I watched it for hours just because the dude is so cool and chill to talk to. And speaking of, let's get right into it. Let's get into his interview.
Yeah. I'm dude, ready to hear it.
Yeah. So this is Richie Nashville Capillion live from IA. Hey, welcome back to Right Hand Drive, guys, live from Import Alliance Summer Meet 2023. Today I got sitting with me Richard Capillion. A lot of people might know him as Nashville, though, if you've been around.
Hello.
What's up, Richie?
What's up?
Hey, thanks for coming through. So I've known Richie for quite a while. I've got some good memories that I'll definitely bring up with him. But the reason why he's here today is because he just picked up a really sweet car, a car I am very envious of. Tell us a little bit about the car.
Yeah, so like anybody else, that was the car that was on my wall as a kid. Played it in Gran Turismo, built it 1,000 times on Forza, and I've always wanted it. It's a 98 Civic Type R, the EK9 chassis.
So, what color is it?
Black.
So why?
Good question. So, with my little bit of research before I acquired the car, I figured out that they made about 16,000 EK9s through the whole 97 to 2000.
It's really not many, really.
Not a lot, worldwide, or Japan only.
Yeah.
So they only made them for Japan, and I figured out that they made 400 black in the total of the whole lifespan, and about 300 silver. So
wow.
I wanted anything but white, and black kind of landed in my lap. So
yeah, I mean, because, yeah, everybody's got a white one. Like, I've had multiple white ones. You see white ones everywhere. I'd assume those numbers are in the high thousands comparatively.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So when you start looking for this, I mean, you're no stranger. You've had right-hand drive cars. You've had Hondas. What was the process? When you're like, I'm going to do it, where did you even start, really?
So, the basics like everybody. You look at Facebook, you look at Instagram, Google it. You try to find, like, the one that's local. There's a few, but none that I like. You know? So I had to reach out further, and you start looking at local importers. And then I found out that there's a company called Stacked that exports them. And actually, Aaron's the one that told me that you use them, which I knew they were going to be a legit company at that point.
Yeah. And then obviously subsequently we ended up going there, and it reaffirmed it that, like, they are really cool guys, and it seems like by your car they're also pretty dang good at sourcing them.
Oh yeah. And in my opinion, I think exporting it the way I did it and you do it is way better than importing it, just because you can kind of tell them the parameters you want it to be in, and then they'll match those parameters and go way beyond that. And you have eyes in Japan that can look at the car, feel the car, tell you if it's legit, if it's rusted, or you name it. It's like being in Japan.
Yeah, it's really like the second best thing. And what I like about an exporter like Stacked, or the guy Trevor that I know, is just that they are charging you a certain fee, right? They're not looking for the car that they can get the biggest come up on,
Right.
which I think is a big difference between them and somebody who already has it locally.
Right.
They found the one that they could get the come up on.
Exactly.
So yeah, I definitely agree. I think the way that we're doing it and working with these people that are already over there is a much better option. And so, okay, so you was this the first car that they found for you? What, did you go through a few?
Yeah, so I went, this is actually the second one. So I found a total of 3, and they only put eyes on 2 because I'm very impatient, right? And this time I didn't let it get the best of me, thankfully, because I was going to pull the trigger on a white one, which we just talked about. I don't want a white one. But thankfully, Killian put his eyes on it, really told me that it was a very nice car, just dirty. And that really made me pull the trigger. It was just his, confirming my suspicions.
Yeah, and it's like, just because it's dirty doesn't mean that it's not clean.
Right.
Which is a wild thing to think about. And sometimes dirty cars actually end up being super clean.
Oh, for sure.
And it seems like in your case, that's kind of what happened.
Right.
So when you say like Killian found you 2 cars, so when Stack goes and inspects a car for you, is there like a small inspection fee that you pay per time? Yeah.
Yeah,
so
and
that's
honestly,
kinda how it
it's not as expensive as I would expect. Just because I think we're kind of jaded by the U.S. market on how everything's crazy expensive. I would have paid double of what he was willing to do for the amount of work he put into it. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, because, a lot of these guys, they take pride in it. It'd be like, me or you taking up an inspection job or something like that over there, we'd be very thorough.
Oh, yeah.
And they really are. Like, they're showing me things, and I'm like, yeah, okay, dude. Like, this is a 25-year-old car. Like, what do you mean? And they just want you to know because they genuinely would want that too.
Right, and they're car people through and through.
Right.
It's not their job. It's like more of their like passion.
Yeah.
So like they move there for that reason.
Yeah, which is really what you find is some of the best guys like that did move there from, like with Stack from New Zealand or, my guy Trevor from the U.S. They move there because that's truly their passion. They almost shape their life around it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So just give us a quick little rundown. I'll have some video and pictures. But so you get the EK9. It's clearly what you were looking for.
Yep.
And so where do you go from there? Because it was completely stock, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only modifications I had was some Cusco coilovers, which I wasn't mad at,
No.
But like the good thing about exporting it and them being so thorough with the process is they give me time to basically stack the parts that I want while I wait on this car to arrive in the United States. So it's almost like using my impatience as a good thing.
Right, because you're almost mentally building the car.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And that kind of makes it a little more fun when it drops and you're like, okay, now I can da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, you don't have to wait on parts anymore. You put it in the garage, you wash it, and now it's time to go to work.
Hell yeah. And so you've traditionally been a guy that really has like a great clean style. And so I definitely expected nothing less when I see this car. Just run me real quick through what was on that shelf.
So basically, I would spend nights zooming in on the photos that Killian sent me to try to figure out what I needed to replace. And it's the obvious stuff. It's the door moldings, it's the headlights, tail lights, all the window moldings. They're just old, 25 years old,
Yeah.
And then I knew I wanted wheels, so I actually went through 3 or 4 sets of wheels in my garage before I had the car.
Before the car even lands.
Before the car even landed. And then I just went and bought all the OEM stuff I could get through Honda because I knew the time is coming that's going to be discontinued.
Oh, for sure.
So I had to get as much stuff that was going to be irreplaceable as soon as I could. But overall, the car's clean. I still have stuff left over that I didn't use.
Yeah, right, that's always nice, right? Like, did you end up having to swap out the emblems or anything?
No.
Wow, that's pretty good, really. I mean, because 25 years old, usually you see that faint red.
The pink, yeah.
So that means it wasn't in the sun its whole life.
No.
Yeah.
The only thing I noticed was the hood and the roof have been painted at some point in its life.
Huh.
So
which you never know, right? That could be anything from a tree to whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Killian told me that before I even got the car. So.
And that's important, right? Is that, yeah, maybe you don't love that happened, but like you can settle with that considering how the rest of the car really is.
Plus,
yeah.
honestly, it made me feel better about I didn't feel like I was getting this museum piece. You know, I could still do a little bit of touches and not feel guilty.
Yeah, because that is, when you get these cars and they are in the type of shape that yours is in, it really is hard to justify just hitting the road with it all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the fact that you can get something that's, definitely not even close to beat, but not that like, damn, I can only drive it to shows type thing.
Right.
Yeah. No. So like I said, you've traditionally been a guy with like this really clean style. So I'm gonna, throw it back real quick. So when you went by Nashville back in the day, this is like 10, 13 years ago, right?
Yeah, about that.
When did you
The
have that
forum
red
days.
EG6?
08 was the last time I was at Import Alliance with that car.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
2023.
Almost in the same
dude.
spot.
Yes.
You know?
And that is really what's awesome about being at this event, especially with all you guys, is like we're like now at this different age level, but we're still like the same dudes liking the same stuff.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
And you back in 08, you probably saw Richie's car. It was a red EG6. It had LED sleds. It had the Spec 2 exhaust. It had the status seats. It was really, at that time, that car was really iconic. You may not think so, but it really is. If you say red EG6 was LED sleds, they know the car.
Yeah.
They know the car,
Yeah.
And I remember you came and picked me up over there in Madison. We drove 10 or 12 hours, wasn't
That's
it?
right, yeah.
Yeah. We went and traded that out with Gray Parker for right-hand drive SIR2 EG6.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys traded, like, it worked out. I knew him from before. I knew you. Hooked it up. It actually worked out okay.
Yeah.
The car made it there. The new car made it home. That was really cool, and that was a nice EG6 that you ended up getting there.
Yeah, and then I had a new project. Like, I knew what I was getting into. I just wanted the right-hand drive, and there's no explanation of why, because I had a perfectly good car.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
It's just I wanted the iconic EG6.
Yeah, and that was a good example, and it's funny because we're driving this 10 to 12 hours, and you're in status seats.
Yeah.
It's super uncomfortable.
No AC.
You look really good, but it's super uncomfortable. And then to top it off, he's got the Buddy Club Spec 2 exhaust. So I'm like, "Hey, Richie!" and it's just one of those things that you do as car guys. You do whatever it takes to get to that next point. And
Not even thinking, just jump in the car and go.
talk about jumping in the car and go. Like, how do you feel that this stock B16B? I mean, you've had plenty of other Hondas. Like, how do you feel about it? You feel like it's healthy as strong?
Oh yeah. I mean, starts up every time, no smoke. Another
Yeah.
thing that they even checked out in Japan, they're like, dude, this car's good.
which
They
is nice.
showed me a video of them pulling it to their shop and revving it. Like,
Oh wow.
I wouldn't do anything like that. It's not like they were abusing it, but it's what the car's made for.
Yep.
No smoke. It's just as healthy as it could
clean,
be.
which is nice, because that just gives you that confidence that, like, all right, I'm gonna have this thing, I'm gonna drive it, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have no problems, because you know how to maintain it.
Right.
So
And I even had the idea of picking the car up at the port and driving it to Nashville, which would have been about a 10-hour drive. And I even asked Killian, I was like, would you do this? And he's like, the car's healthy, I would.
yeah,
So
I
it's
mean,
like that extra confidence that you need to, like, get in the car and go. And I didn't, but
yeah.
I could have.
What did it come into Baltimore or New York?
No, actually, I chose Virginia.
Oh, that's cool.
Newport News, Virginia.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, it's
A
the
little
closest one to
closer.
Nashville.
Yeah.
If I could do it again, I would choose a West Coast port, because you watch the boat go West Coast all the way around the United
Oh
States
no.
to the East Coast. You're like, damn, I could have had
Oh yes,
You
like
know?
right. You could have just shipped it or
Yeah.
picked it, whatever.
it. Exactly.
That's true. I didn't think about that. It goes down through the Panama Canal and
Right.
stuff, right? Yeah. So that's a heads up to anybody. If you are going to an East Coast port, you are waiting extra time
Right.
because of that.
I mean, any advice, just look at a map like I didn't. You
Yeah.
look at the United States, Japan's to the left.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get your car sooner if you choose a West Coast port.
Very true. So, so we got to know though. You have a super clean EK9. It's what you've wanted. You went through the process. What's next? Is it more on that car? Is it another car? Is it simply just being like happy?
Yeah, no, I think I'm just like fulfilled. I'm content, which
That's
I
awesome.
always used to say when I was younger. The contentment is a disease, but like
Yeah.
I'm happy, you know.
Right.
And you know, I'm sure you get it.
Yeah.
Where you buy a certain car with X amount of money, people always suggest what you could have gotten. But
Right.
this is my hot rod. This is my dream car. You
Right,
know, so
exactly.
why get anything else?
Yeah, and you have the very best, car to fulfill that, right? Because it's not like you just like a Civic Type R.
Right.
It's not like you just like, a 98 Civic Type R. You like a black 98 Civic Type R with Rega Masters
Right.
on it that are white, and it pops so hard.
Right. And the pre-facelift, like
Yeah.
didn't want the facelift, so it was very specific. If I had to go back again and tell myself this is what I'm looking for, I'd never thought I'd find it.
Which is,
You know.
like you said, timing, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
like everything does kind of work itself out in that sense. And just imagine if you were 2 weeks later or 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah,
you
somebody
know?
else could have got it.
So then you would recommend stacked.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And would you say the easiest way to get a hold of stacked is just go on the website and hit contact us or something?
Email.
Email.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta keep in mind the time difference.
Okay.
You send an email, you're getting an email the next day.
Okay, right, because they're going to be 12, 13 hours difference.
Yeah.
So just be patient, right?
Mhm.
That's like, and that's what I found is the easiest thing to do is once you know you're working with somebody good, just be patient
Yeah.
because they want you to get your car, but they also have to do their job and keep things moving. So,
Exactly.
so no more parts are going on the car.
As of right now, no. I mean, I've got some suspension pieces on the way that you gotta wait time for these things.
Of course.
But I'm trying to break it down now into more seasonal. So like, I don't want to do the break the car apart, build it back up, and then drive
Yeah.
it. I want to drive the car quite a bit, and then when the weather gets bad, do some suspension.
Right.
And then it's ready for the next season. So
Yes, exactly. That way there's no downtime.
Exactly.
You never got an excuse to leave it in the garage. It's just good to
Right.
go. And yeah, I applaud you for keeping it stock because so many people want to get a car like this and just make it a Conjo racer.
Right.
They just immediately want to do these things when it's like, let's step back and look at what you actually have here. No, it's not a museum piece, but Honda built that for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And keeping it that way, that's like hella commendable compared to just like tearing it down and throwing all these parts on it.
And even if you look at like the old school videos, like of them, I think it was Best Motoring did like a review when it first came out. Like the accolades that car got and the commendment that people were just like stunned this car existed is
Yeah.
insane. Now by today's standard, yeah, it's nothing.
Right.
But 25 years ago, a hand-built, port and polished engine, it's pretty impressive.
sick, yeah.
Like
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And even today, I mean, you only find that on very high-end cars.
right,
I think the lowest end car that's done with is the R35.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't think they really do it with much less. And we're talking about a Honda Civic.
right.
So
Yeah, an
that
economy
really
car.
is something. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, all right, man. Well, we definitely appreciate you coming
Yeah.
through. It's always a pleasure kicking it with you. You're definitely, as I'll say it again, you're a very uniquely stylish guy, and I can appreciate it 100%.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So I'm Bobby. This is Richie. We're out of here.
Thank you.
So that was dope, like kicking it with Richie and kind of just, going through everything that he's been up to and was up to with that car.
Yeah. It was pretty cool, and he spit some facts in there that I wasn't aware of, like the black EK9s being such low production numbers.
Yeah, on the paint.
And dude, as well as the shipping to West Coast ports, that's something
Yeah,
we haven't really
yeah, you
touched
could
on.
tell. I blew my mind. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
wow.
he was like, yeah, you just got to look at a map.
Yeah. When, I was always just thinking about the least transportation within the U.S. and never
Right.
about the most expedited, shipping from Japan. I
Right.
also probably would assume that L.A. is, pretty busy.
Yeah, I
But,
would imagine.
maybe still the time that it takes for that to go around the whole bottom of the United States is still way more than any shipping delay at port in
Right.
LA. So, yeah, I mean, that was cool, right?
Yeah.
And I wish that he lived closer so that we could kind of have those type of conversations a little more, because he's definitely a really smart guy.
Yeah.
And that was the thing when you talked about back on the forum days, he always had his shit straight. Like, and that's like for real. Like he is a pretty like smart guy and just really has always been into these Hondas. So
yeah,
it's like,
and has a ton of knowledge.
Yeah.
Like for sure. And it was good to hear that he was back in the game,
Yep. Yeah. I think he seemed like happy to be there. Like I do think that you'll see him more and more participating in probably some of the smaller things,
Yeah.
And it was cool to kind of take a little stroll down memory lane with him, because and something that we didn't actually touch on, but it was, so I went with him on that ride to get that right-hand drive EG6 to St. Louis, right? So it wasn't but like 2-3 months later, I asked him to come with me, and I was going to look at a Integra Type R in St. Louis, and I was going to be trading an Evo 9 with cash on top. The guy was going to have cash on top, like a bunch.
Right.
And we got there, and the thing was, so he rode all those hours with me.
Yeah.
But this time you could actually like talk to each other and hear each other.
It had interior.
Yeah.
The car had interior.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and it ended up not working out, and I told the dude I was all set. He had driven from same thing, Colorado.
Yeah.
And so
Jesus.
this time, Richie and I drove back in the same car that we drove there. So that Nashville to St. Louis and back for like nothing. Was at IA on that Saturday when he came. I don't know if do you know Caleb Cavelli?
Yeah, I don't personally know him.
You know who he is? Yeah. So he had like this giant roll of PGK stickers, and they like laid it out, measured it out, and like, we're like putting the PGK sticker on the car. Like,
nice.
it was just it was cool because like,
back to 08.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how it felt, and Baum was there, so that was cool. He was, helping measure it out,
Right.
But that was pretty sweet to just kind of see that. And, I've been waiting for my PGK sticker for goddamn 13 years, but they ain't sent me nothing. I was going to say it, like, when they were putting it out, I'm like, damn, I'm still waiting for mine.
Yeah, right.
But no, it was cool. It was cool to see. But the car, like, again, like, I don't know. I can't help it. I love the car.
Dude, yeah, me too. And, like, honestly, I can't wait to see what wheels he puts on it next.
Yeah. He's so
one of those
great.
dudes that, like, like he said, he went through 4 sets of wheels before the car even shipped.
Yeah.
So, like, I believe that 100%, dude.
Yeah,
He's
crazy.
sending pictures of him, like,
yeah,
yo, here's this this week's set. I'm like, what? What are you doing? And
yeah,
like,
I mean, hey.
And he's one of the guys that I learned about the Bailly thing.
Yeah.
That we've talked about it previously.
Yeah.
He was the one that informed me about that, and
yeah, he's definitely like resourceful. He's like, an old head Honda dude.
Yeah,
right? Like,
for sure. And he's been in it so long that like he
we're
knows
used to sourcing
all these
that
like
stuff.
right, and knows all these little back doors and like
yeah,
just all these ways to get these parts, and is like confident doing it. So that's pretty cool. And like
no forums, no mo though. That was always like heavy, like Honda Tech and NWP for like parts, dude, was like the hit, like, because that's where everybody went, and like without that now, I'm sure he has to do a little different style searching, probably more Japanese searching.
Yeah, that's pretty much like, from the parts that I'm seeing him buy for his car, like that's pretty much what he's doing is buying on the Bailly and going to the Honda dealership, I guess, and getting OEM stuff. But, like, as far as aftermarket, he kind of sources everything in Japan.
Which is, cool. Like, take note there. And he has always had, like I told him, like, that awesome, like, unique style to him. Yeah,
and a lot of these things are, from tuning shops, obviously, that are only in Japan. And, they usually don't ship worldwide.
Yeah, so...
Or if they do, it's super long time.
I mean, do you believe that he's content? Do you believe I mean, I don't know.
I mean, do I think he's gonna tear the car completely apart like he
Used to.
he used to? No, I
No.
think He's grown up from that, I think.
Yeah. Well, and this isn't the car for that.
Right, that too.
This
You know,
isn't.
this is
No way.
this is like
I would be like, dude, come on, bro.
Right,
like
right.
ITB that B16B. Don't be putting no Ks in there. But
Right.
that's not what he would do. I know that.
right. Because
you
I
know?
mean, that's kind of what he did with his last build. Like that silver EK hatch, you know, he sourced from a junkyard and built it from scratch. So, you know, maybe that's out of his system. Right, because I'm sure like driving
that's a lot of work, dude.
Yeah, and you kind of can't enjoy the car if you do that in a
Mhm.
sense. You know, if you like put solid bushings everywhere and like
Oh, yeah.
solid motor mounts and
I had that on one
you
of
know
my
the
CTRs,
spec, yeah,
dude.
you know, and the spec too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it sounds sick, but like, do you want that all the time?
No.
Like, no, you don't. I mean, that's kind of reserved for another car or
Yeah.
whatnot. But to him, that's not it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he'll continue to find quality, like, JDM pieces to
Yeah.
complement what he's done. And, you know, I don't know. Maybe, like, because he's probably got other things in life beyond the cars that he's also, like, focused on. So
Yeah.
once he's able to enjoy the car, like, move on to the next thing in life, not maybe the next car. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But it does seem like this is a keeper for him.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's why I asked him. I don't remember if it was on the interview or not, but I asked him, I'm like, so what's up? Is this a keeper? And he's like, oh yeah. So
Yeah, right. I mean, when he said he sourced it, like, would he have thought he would find this car, this exact spec? No, like, no way.
yeah.
So, like, if you're saying that to yourself, it's probably a keeper.
Yeah, for
100%.
sure. And he had the the spoon calipers on it. It looked so sick with those Regas. Like, it was just like so classic and
Right.
clean. Like, the whole car was pretty much like that,
Yeah. And yeah, like, dude, the Regas, or like any wheels that he picks, he puts 17. He likes to put 17s on his EK. Where, like, I feel like most people with Hondas, they tend to do 16s.
Oh, yeah,
maybe
for
even,
sure.
but I don't think 15s really. But
I mean,
usually
depends.
16s, right?
EGs, you can do a 15.
Right,
but
right.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, he puts the bigger wheel on it. I think it looks so much better, and I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that sets this car apart is that as well.
Yeah, no, I
That's
agree.
like the correct spec, I think.
Yep, that's what I always did. Like, I always did the 17-inch T37s because it was just like
Right.
for the EK.
Right.
For the EG, like, the 16s are where it's at.
Right.
Like,
Right. Of
you can
course.
do 17s, but like,
They look a little big.
yeah.
But for
sure.
an EK, like 17s, like looks sick. It fills
Yeah.
out so perfectly.
Take note on that. Again, I'm glad to have been able to, like, just spend that time with Richie. Really, really cool dude.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You can learn a lot from him.
Yeah.
So what was his IG?
It is 98 CTR spelled out.
Spelled out.
Yeah,
98 CT.
No spaces, no underscores. All 98 CTR.
Yeah, so give him the follow.
Yeah.
But for now, we definitely appreciate the listen, and we'll see you again next week.
Yeah.
I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
See ya.
Peace.